Hey all, Kay here. We are back to where it all began. This is Dark Souls 1, my second LP. Well, it was the first LP, my second playthrough of it. Yeah, I was so just taken by this game that I immediately started a new character after I'd won. Because I wanted to do a different build, and I wanted to kind of follow some of the storylines that I missed the first time through. Oh, that's right, yeah. These bars here, you can see the stray demon through them, which I didn't realize on my first run. So it was sort of a shock to me when I came back to the asylum and saw it there. I remember wondering if I had just missed it, and yes, I had just missed it. Um, so between your comments at the end of my Dark Souls 1 playthrough and some of the lore videos that I watched afterward, I had compiled a list of things that I wanted to investigate. In particular, I wanted to do Sigmare's story arc and Solaire's. And if I remember, I messed one of them up, like, partway through, even on the second run, as you'll see. I also wanted to check out some of the secrets that I'd missed. Like, you know, chop off all the tails and find all the secret doors that I missed. And yes, go to Ash Lake, which I didn't even know about. A whole area.
Oh, you. You're no hollow. Thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid. I'll die soon, then lose my sanity. I wish to ask something of you. You and I were both undead. Hear me out, will you? Yes, I see. Perhaps I was too hopeful. Please, leave me be. I have not long to live, and I may harm you after death. Now, go. Why?
Yeah, so I also wanted to do the dialogue options that I didn't pick the first time through. Which means that this K is slightly murderous. But yeah, so Ash Lake, an entire area that I didn't visit on the first time through. I didn't even know it existed until you guys told me, which was kind of amazing. Like an entire map that's like hidden behind a double secret door. Yeah, I kind of owned this asylum demon. Actually, if I remember, I kind of destroyed this game on the second run. I used like really heavy weapons, and oh, they're just so powerful. So yes, this footage that you're watching is my second run. It's a strength-focused build who wants nothing at all to do with magic, and in fact distrusts mages wholly. So no Grig's love this time through. I actually recorded this in March, and I've forgotten, well, most of what I did, so this is going to be kind of new to me too. Looks like I grabbed that Firekeeper Soul first, before I went up to Undeadburg. That mace that I'm using I picked up from like that secret area in Firelink. So yeah, anyway, here we go. Let's go exploring. I grabbed this, is that the Zweihander? From the graveyard. And I didn't have the strength for it, so I was using it two-handed, and that led to some early deaths. So yes, there are still deaths on this playthrough. Most caused by hasty play and just being overconfident when I shouldn't, particularly early in the run, when I don't have very much health, and I've got to use the sword two-handed, and it's so heavy that I can't wear any armor. So, there you go. This Black Knight in Undeadburg was... I remember this distinctly. This was the moment that I was just sold on this game. This is when I became an addict. This fight was so fun on my first playthrough, and was equally fun on my second one. It's like, if I if I had to compile a list of my favorite bosses, and I will at some point during this series, I think I might put this Black Knight on it. Now clearly it's not a boss, it doesn't have a life bar. Well, it has a life bar. It doesn't have a big red life bar at the bottom of the screen. It doesn't have boss music. But this early in the game, an enemy this difficult is essentially a boss. Let's say it's a mini-boss. And it's a great introduction to the game. I threw everything I had at this enemy on my first time through. I was like hiding up on the roof, throwing knives and fire bombs and trying to shoot it with arrows. I mean, everything I had at my disposal. I went through my whole inventory and then tried doing these like terrifying plunging attacks from the roof just to whittle down its damage, which it took next to nothing damage-wise from all of my attacks. And I think I managed to kill it both times, like half a swing from death. Oh, such a great fight. So I decided to tackle Havel next because I needed the equipment weight bonus that his ring has on it in order to clothe myself. Without any upgrades on my weapon, this fight took quite a while. So let me jump to some viewer questions in the meanwhile. I actually want to answer your questions by following roughly like in chronological order, by which I mean I'll start sort of with my history and the channel's origins, and then go through the games in the order that I played them, and then talk about what comes next. That being said, I'm going to put a couple of questions right up front because so many of you have asked. So, first, Dark Souls 2 DLCs. Will I play them? Yes. We're going to wait until they're available kind of as a package deal. But yeah, we'll get them, and I'll record the footage for the channel. So I am on DLC information blackout, so please avoid spoilers about the DLCs. In that vein, why do I say we when I answer questions? Simple. Because there are two of us. It's just my voice you hear, but my boyfriend, henceforth the initial P, does a lot of work for the channel, and also acts as kind of a filter for me when like reading comments or looking into games so that I don't get spoiled on them. So alright, next, what do I think about Bloodborne? Well, we're very excited to play it. And in fact, we just got a PS4. Well, we ordered a PS4 this week. We haven't gotten it. But I haven't watched any of the ads or seen the demos about Bloodborne. I do know enough to be pretty psyched about it. We'll have to figure out the whole PlayStation 4 recording setup, of course. But yeah, if anything could convince me to do another console game, this would be it. Of course, I'm very interested in Bloodborne. And finally, there we go, we got Havel. Finally, this game Lords of the Fallen. Truthfully, I know next to nothing about it, other than that the gameplay looks, at a glance, Souls-like. And yeah, that certainly piques my interest. But yeah, I don't really have much info to give you about it at this point. So yeah, just know that, yes, it's on my radar. And, you know, I'm sure that when more information is available about it, P will tell me. So, there you go. So, the sound on this clip is out of sync. So let's have a quick chat about audio and video quality on these videos. The Dark Souls LP was plagued by these issues, I know. And while I think that we got the major issues kind of worked out since then, some do persist today. Game audio syncing shouldn't be a problem going forward. I mean, like, from the Demon's Soul LP on. Obviously, these clips I recorded like 5 months ago. But yeah, audio quality kind of continues to be... kind of went right over the edge. Audio quality continues to be a nuisance, so let me describe the problem. Because maybe some of you have experience with this and might be able to advise me on it. So I live in a rather noisy apartment in the DC area, and when I record, my audio, my microphone picks up every little noise, like air conditioning, which I actually turn off when I record, water in the pipes, computer fans, vacuums, traffic, you name it. So there's pretty much like a constant hum in the audio track. So we perform some audio surgery to try to minimize it, which unfortunately also makes me sound a bit wonky at times. So yeah, any tips? Like perhaps a better microphone? The one I'm using is a Samsung C01U USB studio condenser with like a pop filter. And software-wise, I'm recording on PC with the Marillus Action program. So, yeah, I mean, obviously I would love to have that kind of crisp, clean, high-quality audio that you hear on a lot of other LPs. So, the question, is this achievable? Or do you need like a padded studio or a quiet cabin in the woods to get that? So, all input welcome. I'd love to hear if any of you know about this sort of thing. What can you do to, or what can we do to improve the audio quality in particular? Oh man, I remember how fun some of these early fights were. This is the first encounter with the Titanite demon underneath the, kind of the blacksmith. I always wondered, like, why, the kind of the positioning of this fight, like, literally right next to the blacksmith's room, which you tend to think of as sort of a safe haven. This kind of intrigued me, that there was such a powerful enemy so close to that blacksmith. And that could just be a video game thing. You know, it's always been kind of silly how you have like merchants often right in the center of this, you know, right in the center of maps that are kind of populated with monsters. Like, this is just something that you have to accept in video games. But in this case, there is kind of a tie, because Titanite is the material that's used to upgrade. And the Titanite demons are like born of giant slabs of Titanite. So I always kind of wondered... yeah, that guy destroyed me. I always sort of wondered whether that blacksmith was somehow like farming Titanite off of that demon. Which I thought would be kind of a cool, just sort of a neat little story touch that's never actually... I don't think they say it, but you can infer that there's some sort of connection just because of their proximity, maybe? Oh, Lautrec. Yeah, you'll notice I've got a... so I played online on my second playthrough. I didn't really get very much kind of multiplayer action. I did try. A lot of the times when I tried to summon people, it failed. I mean, I would say 3 out of 4 times I tried to summon, it failed. But here I did get someone, and I decided to go after Lautrec and fight him in this corridor. And I think that my helpful phantom was trying to, you know, this is something you've got to do for yourself, trying to let me do it myself. But she was sort of interfering with his pathing, which was kind of neat. And in fact, I get the win here because she kind of gets in the way and lets me do a jumping attack. Yeah, right here. I was having a lot of fun doing the, doing the, like, bare-handed parries. There's the jump attack. Yeah, I was having a lot of fun doing the sort of bare-handed parries and then switching to two-handed since I still didn't have the strength to one-hand the sword. And this is the same Phantom, and then I've also summoned Solaire. And I wanted to get this, I wanted to get the tail. Yeah, Gargoyle Tail Axe. Yeah, I'm starting my tail collection here. God, this sword with a buff against these early enemies is just ridiculous. It does so much damage. Look Look at the chunks of life coming off of this thing. So a couple of you wanted me to kind of chat about other games that I've played and enjoyed, or to talk about how I kind of got into playing video games. And actually, this is a story that I told recently, so it's kind of fresh in my memory. I've got an older brother who is kind of into games, and the two of us used to get sort of trotted off to my grandparents' house when we were little, and it would have been the supremely boring experience if we hadn't discovered my uncle's old room from when he used to live, when he was little and lived with our grandparents. And he had left behind all of his old gaming stuff. So he had video games and Dungeons and Dragons books and those Choose Your Own Adventure books that I got really into when I was little. It's actually funny how many of my interests today I can actually trace back to my uncle, who I didn't really have that much sort of face-to-face interaction with, but it was just we got his kind of hand-me-down interests, if you will. So our grandfather owned an old Apple computer. I want to say it was it was either an Apple II GS or an Apple IIe. Was there an E? I think it was a GS. And so my uncle had these video games that were the Bard's Tales and the Wizardries, and there were some other ones, but those are the ones that we played the most because my brother and I didn't want to share. We didn't want to take turns. So when you played those games, you had a roster of characters that you would take a group. You take 5 or 6 of them out to go adventuring, and so we could both make characters, and we could both have characters in the party, even though only one of us or the other was actually at the controls. We both felt like we were playing. So those were kind of the go-to games. And then my uncle actually had this really powerful set of characters that he had played that we now had access to. So we would take all of our Lobby characters and one of his super-powered characters, early version of power leveling, I guess. So yeah, those were the games that really got me into it. We didn't have a computer in our household until I was in, I want to say, late middle school. And the first game that I remember playing, I was always a computer gamer. I never really, well, no, that's not true. I played a lot of, I played some NES games and I played some Game Boy games. But most of the games that I kind of grew up on were PC games. So the first one that I remember playing at home was, it was called Hillsfar, and it was a Dungeons and Dragons video game, where you only had one character. And I don't remember much about it other than that there were these kind of odd mini-games, like picking locks and riding your horse from place to place. You had to jump over obstacles. I also remember playing TIE Fighter from LucasArts. And this one sticks out in my mind because, again, it was supposed to be a single-player game, but we played it multiplayer, my brother and I, because we realized at some point that one of you could sit at the mouse and kind of control the ship and shoot the guns. And I don't remember what the other mouse button did. And the other of you could sit at the keyboard and control the ship's speed and the shields and everything. So it was one of you was the captain and one of you was the engineer. And we would switch back and forth. So that was real fun. So on Game Boy, I had a couple of games that were Japanese titles that were released in the US under the Final Fantasy name, under the Final Fantasy brand, but they weren't actually Final Fantasy games, part of the Final Fantasy series. So one of them, or two of them, were part of the Saga series, but they were called like Final Fantasy Legend 1 and 2. And again, it was kind of like a, walk around on the overworld, get into turn-based combat randomly, and you have like a party of 4 characters setups, both of them. There was also Final Fantasy Adventure, which was part of the Mana series, or Mystic Quest, I think maybe it was called. So those games were great. I played the heck out of those. Alone in the Dark 1, I played a bit of. And actually I remember that being one of my first kind of problems with horror in games. There was one part in that game where you either had to or it was optional. You had to go into this library to fetch like a book or something on one of the bookshelves in the back. And there was this like invisible creature. I could be misremembering it. There was some monster in the library that would like stalk you up and down the bookshelves. And I was so afraid to go into the library. Like the rest of the game I could handle all right, but that one part I tried once and never did it again. I would just pass off the game to my brother to have him do it. But otherwise that was a really good game, and there were some sequels to that too. I played the second one, and I like much later, like years later, I picked up a copy of the third game and played maybe the opening like half hour of it. It was some like Wild West sort of themed thing, if I remember. But I didn't get far in it. I don't remember why. And so those sorts of games took me through high school. And then when I got to college, I lived in I was in like the honors dorm, and the floor of my dormitory was like, it was half women and half men. And I probably spent most of my time hanging out on the guys' side. And they played... GoldenEye was really big, and at that time, and I played it, and I wasn't particularly good at it, but it was fun for like the social aspect. But the game that I did play and was decent at was Starsiege Tribes. That was huge, Starsiege Tribes. It was kind of my first... I think this is true, that it was sort of the first game I played that had like an MMO aspect to it. I mean, it's not your traditional like MMO RPG, but it was like, they had servers where you would have like 24, 36 something people on the server at once, split up into 2 teams, trying to accomplish some goal, like capturing a flag or like taking over territory and holding it, or a death match or whatever. There's tons of games that have that same kind of formula. But Starsiege Tribes had, it was kind of like open terrain combat where you had like a jetpack and could like jetpack up in the air really high and then like swoop down and like launch yourself off of hills and stuff. It was such a great experience. And so there were like people on our floor and the floors above and below us, mostly guys, almost entirely guys, made a tribe and would like compete on, there was some kind of ladder system that I didn't really care about. I never really liked the competitive aspect of games, of that sort of thing, but I liked, like, you were on a tribe and you would practice. You would come up with strategies and like practice them, just like, if you were on like a sports team. And I was alright at it. I don't want to make it sound like I was good at Tribes, but I was alright. I went back and played much later, again, because the game is still active. I mean, people still play it, at least as of like a year ago. when I last tried it. And oh man, the people who have stuck with it all that time are unreasonably good at tribes. And I got just pounded into the dirt at the game. So it wasn't as fun as I remembered it. So here we've got the Sith battle. I went after this one early. There was a reason. To get the Covenant of Artorias so that I could go... Oh, that's right, so that I could go to New Londo and fight the Four Kings to make the other serpent appear. Unfortunately, if I remember, there were kind of like two storylines or two kind of plot lines that I wanted to follow that were contradictory. I think like by doing this, I prevented myself from doing something with like the DLC storyline, maybe? I don't remember anymore. But yeah, so I wanted to do this whole thing and get summon Sif for the Manus fight, and I must have messed it up somehow. Although I followed like the guides, and I think I did all the steps right, but I must have missed something because I couldn't get the summoning sign to appear. And you'll see that like when we get to the end of this. When we get to the end of this run, Manus was one of the last things I went after, and oh good God, did I have trouble with that fight on this kind of melee only run. But we'll get to that later. Anyway, back to the games. More recently, if you can call it recent, I played a lot of Mario Kart Wii. That was like a big hit in my circle of friends. And Final Fantasy XI, we all got into it, and like kind of right around the time where it had its North American release, all of us joined up. Like everyone I knew was playing Final Fantasy XI, and I ended up playing like a year and a half after everyone else quit. I was really addicted to that game. And I finally stopped playing. I like, forced myself to quit. And I vowed never to play another MMORPG. And I resisted when they went into every new one that came out. I was so good. And then Final Fantasy XI had its like Welcome Back to Vana'diel campaign. And they all joined back up again and wanted me to play again. Oh, the misery. It was wonderful. I got back into it. We played for a bunch. After like 2 months, they all quit again, and I kept playing for another year. And finally made myself quit again. And now I vow, again, never to play another MMORPG. So anyone who asks me to, it's not going to happen. Not because I don't love them. I love them too much. Oh, here's Sif getting her revenge. I thought I had it. I thought I was gonna win. But what I forgot is that the shield does not have 100% physical. It doesn't have 100% physical resist, so that swing went right through it. Took off my last little bit of life. Oh, check it out. We've got actual footage of the Taurus demon. It exists. It is in fact on this bridge. Yeah, for those who missed the run, I had a brain lapse and forgot to record this segment. And so you didn't actually get to see the Taurus demon fight on my Dark Souls 1 LP, which I was pretty bummed about. And then it happened again with Manus, but at least I had footage of fighting Manus. Yeah, I killed the Taurus demon. Killed the Taurus demon on my first try, I think. And and here I killed the Taurus demon on my first hit, actually. So apparently a lightning buffed, two-handed jumping attack with the greatsword one-shots the Taurus demon. At least at this point. I was pretty psyched about that. starting the Solera storyline.
Hello. You don't look hollow. Far from it. I am Solaire of Astora, an adherent of the Lord of Sunlight. Now that I am undead, I have come to this great land, the birthplace of Lord Gwyn, to seek my very own son. Do you find that strange? Well, you should. No need to hide your reaction. I get that look all the time. Oh, aha. So I didn't scare you. I have a proposition, if you have a moment. The way I see it, our fates appear to be intertwined. In a land brimming with hollows, could that really be mere chance? So what do you say? Why not help one another on this lonely journey? This pleases me greatly. Well then, take this. We are amidst strange beings in a strange land. The flow of time itself is convoluted, with heroes centuries old phasing in and out. The very fabric wavers, and relations shift and obscure. There's no telling how much longer your world and mine will remain in contact. But use this to summon one another as spirits, cross the gaps between the worlds, and engage in jolly cooperation. Of course, we are not the only ones engaged in this, but I am a warrior of the sun. Spot my summon signature easily by its brilliant aura. If you miss it, you must be blind.
I am interested in Solera's storyline.
Somebody...
Brilliant. You opened the door for me. Thank you. I'm saved. I thought I might never escape. I am Griggs of Vinheim, a sorcerer of the school. I am much obliged for your assistance. Thanks to you, I may now resume my travels. Curses, you leave me no choice. You aren't yourself anymore. Forgive me.
Griggs' story, on the other hand, not so much. I've had quite enough of Griggs of Vinheim. Anyway, so to finish the question at last, for kind of more recent games, I haven't really played that many. The Mass Effect series, I played all the way through, and enjoyed, I mean, for the most part, everything in it. Yeah, I know that the end to Mass Effect 3 kind of left me wanting more than it gave, but it's hard to fault. I mean, the series, taken as a whole, was phenomenal. I got really into that. And then Skyrim. Skyrim, I have trouble describing my experience with it. I think it's a game that has many faults. But I did everything imaginable in that game at the same time, so it must have been really enjoyable. I mean, I'm pretty sure I did nearly every quest. When I was at the end, I had gone through all the guild storylines, I had maxed out most of my stuff, and the only quests that were left in my quest log were like the ones that you kept getting over and over again after you completed them. So, I mean, I'm sure there are quests that I never found. And I know that there were DLCs that I didn't, I played a bit of Dawnguard. But honestly, I was so burned out from my run of kind of the base game that I didn't have much left. So I probably actually will go back to Skyrim at some point. But, yeah, very, very fun. Obviously very immersive game. It's hard, I think, when you have a game world that big to keep the content fresh. You know, you definitely hit a point where every dungeon that you go into, other than like, you know, obviously there's always going to be a few quests that have kind of unique, interesting things in them, but a lot of the kind of the just dungeon content starts to get repeated again. Like the doors, I mean, how many of those doors where you had to like line up the 3 symbols, or like rotate the three like kind of triangular pillars to the right thing. Oh yes, I was so happy about that. I saw a video of somebody doing that kind of death-defying head stomp of the butcher, and wanted to replicate it. So I did. Yeah, so in Skyrim, like, the content got a little bit stale, I would say, by the time I finished it, but I mean, I played so much, so it's to be expected.
Been eaten alive. I started to think. Thank you. Thank you dearly. I am Laurentius, or the Great Scroll. Oh, no. Are you mad?
Here's Laurentius kicking my butt. Yeah, Buff K is kind of a bloodthirsty monster on this run. It's pretty terrible. Oh, let's kill him too.
Fancy a rat. You have some nerve. I may be crestfallen, but I'm not defenseless, you rascal. You will soon... Not too shabby. Not too shabby. I think you're a real
And if you're wondering whether I played the earlier games in the Elder Scrolls series, yes, but I played them out of order. Skyrim was the first one I played, and so I thought, well, this was really fun. Let me go back and try the other ones. And I'm sure that the older games, in some respects, are better than Skyrim, but I don't know because I didn't get very far in them. Possibly because of burnout, but also that, I mean, they're older games, they're more dated, so the kind of mechanics are a bit clunkier. I played an Archer for my Skyrim build. Archer tends to be the first thing I try in like every new game. And the archery in the older games felt a lot clunkier. So I'm sorry, like I'm sure that if I had played them in the right order, I would have loved the heck out of, like, Oblivion and Morrowind, but I didn't, and now that I've played the newer one, it's hard to go backward. So I haven't discovered the story and all the cool things in it. I've been told that, like, a lot of the quest lines are way cooler in the older games, but, yeah, I don't know that I'll ever get there. I may try it again someday, when I'm bored. We'll see. A few of you asked specifically about the Zelda series. So I can practically feel my gamer cred going out the window as I say this, but I haven't actually played myself any of the Zelda games outside of a bit of the first one on the NES. I didn't own an NES until I was like college aged. So Zelda was like the fun thing that we always wanted to do when visiting friends' houses when we were little. But there were always time constraints and too many people sharing the system. I have watched most of the Zelda games all the way through. I've watched other people play them. So Ocarina, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, and Skyward Sword. I've at least watched. boy, the Gaping Dragon does not like Knight Solaire. Holy cow. So it was around this point in the series where I decided to get a bit cheeky and start taunting enemies. It did not go well. So we'll see. This is still the same fight. It was just a lot of running around. About 49 tons of karma. So in this next section, when we cut in here, I think at this point I've been trying to summon people for about like 15 minutes and just getting no luck at all. Like all the summonings just say they're failed. I do eventually get one. I think I got one here. Yeah, because I had a summon when I went in to fight, Kalag. So a couple of you asked about sort of the origin of the channel. Why did we decide to do this in the first place? The truth is, I didn't. I never really expected to have a YouTube channel with, viewers. What happened was, see if I can remember this correctly. So P was playing Borderlands 2 on the console, and he was trying to do he was trying to platinum the game, and one of the achievements that you need is, you need to do something with, the vehicles, and it was much easier to do with 2 people. I don't remember exactly. So he asked me to help him. And so I sat down. Now, I was not by any stretch a console player, and I was horrible with the controls, particularly driving. And it was... hilarity doesn't even come close. We were dying. We were laughing so hard, because I was driving off of everything and couldn't control the car at all. And so... I mean, in tears, crying. So... he thought that it would be really funny to have me play a difficult game, and he was going to share it with his friends. It was just going to be kind of like an in-joke thing, and we posted it on YouTube, and people found it within the first half hour. I mean, it was crazy. People started commenting on the video.
Oh dear, what have we here? Are you a new servant? But you have no eggs. No matter. Go along and have audience with our fair lady. I pray that you will mind your manners.
And you guys are awesome, by the way. Thank you, all of you who were there from the beginning. That's pretty amazing. Unfortunately, the first video that I posted had, the copyright claim on the opening cinematic, so I ended up having to, re-edit it, and I say I as though I did this, but that's not true at all. We had to re-edit it and upload it again. And unfortunately, so I don't have those early comments, which is a shame. I would love to kind of go back and reread them. But yeah, all of a sudden it was like, oh, there are other people who enjoy watching this. So, and by that point, I really realized that the game itself was tremendously fun. So I kept playing it, and we kept posting it, and then I think a couple of days later, we made a post on Reddit. We're both obsessive Redditors, and then I mean, I wouldn't say it's a large channel. At the time that I'm recording this, I have something like 3,000 subscribers. and the videos tend to get about like a 1,000 views per video. Like kind of from the initial like watching, and then there's kind of round twos, I think, that add another couple hundred on top of that. So, you know, it's not like a hugely popular channel, and it's new, so I wouldn't expect it to be. But, and I'm not sure that I want it to be a hugely popular channel. Like, we don't monetize these videos and have absolutely no plans ever to do that. I don't see the channel as a income stream, and I wouldn't want it to be. It's something that we do for fun because we enjoy playing the games, and I personally enjoy the conversations that we have in the comments. That's really why I keep doing it, because I could play the games on my own. I mean, they're fun. But yeah, for me, it's like I love the discussions about the games. Or about whatever you want. Like, seriously, if you ever just want to talk about something random, just leave a comment. I'm fascinated by people. I really kind of enjoy learning about what makes people tick, like what kind of things they're passionate about, how they got to be the people that they are. And it's something that I tend not to do often in actual daily life. You know, I'm very sort of career-oriented. I know the people that I work with, my circle of friends, and that's kind of it. So this is sort of a way to kind of have conversations with strangers, which I enjoy quite a bit. You meet people from all over, and just talk about things that you care about. And I care about video games, and I like having talks about them or anything else. So that's why I personally have kept going with the channel. I'm actually curious. I'd like to ask Pete to see what his input is. Like, what is his interest in it? Maybe he just does it because I like it. I don't know. Because he's not at all interested in recording. That's not his personality. He's the wallflower in the relationship. So anyway, I'm going to cut this here. Thanks for watching. And here I thought I was going to go with Dark Souls LP without getting cursed.